Hey everybody, it's Romania Black, and we're on episode 4 of Chainsaw Man. If you can believe it, we are a month into Chainsaw Man. That's kind of crazy, right? And we're literally like a third of the way through the season. I know that I'm going to bring Whiteboard Coon out at some point after this episode, and so I want to talk about like the 3-act structure versus the 4-act structure with this series and this season. We'll talk about it in the discussion, but we're a literal third of the way through the season already, and it's kind of crazy. It's been great so far, though. It's been a great ride, and we ended the last episode with Meowy and Power getting eaten, and Denji's like, I'm gonna get you back so I can get my boobs. So it's a fun time. But yeah, I do have some comments I want to talk about before we dive into this episode and see the aftermath, because it feels like a two-parter. It feels like part 1, episode 3, was setting up Meowy, Power's relationship with it, and then Denji's quest and resolve to get both of them back. And then we ended the episode as he cut open the bat devil, and so I feel like this episode's going to be the aftermath of that, and part 2. We'll see, right? This series has subverted things in ways that I hadn't considered before, so I'm curious to see how that goes. But I do have some comments before we start. First of all, thank you all again for not being spoilery. Y'all are making my week. I get on those comments and I'm like, I'm so trepidatious. I'm like, And then when I got done this week, I was like, okay, good. So thank you. And some of you spoiler tag and talk away. I was all about that. So thank you very much. Alicia Colley talked about how Pochita had drank Denji's blood back when it first met it. So Denji knew that drinking the blood of the Bat Devil would help heal him. That's a nice little visual context. We didn't have to have, it kind of didn't do the stereotypical shonen thing where he was like, if I drink the blood of the devil, I'll heal myself. It's like, no, we just saw him do it, knew that it happened. It was very much a show don't tell moment, and I appreciated it. So thanks for pointing that out, Alicia. Wushin Suibian talked about how the Bat Devil is voiced by Matsuda Kinshiro, who is not only the narrator in Spy Family, but is also Thor's from Vinland Saga. And I was like, oh, it's like the Bat Devil versus this little crazy blonde. Feels familiar. So that was really cool. I'm glad you pointed that out. There's a patron whose name I did not know the language that it was in, so I don't want to say what it is. But they pointed out on Patreon that Aki, who seems to be a human, how did they expect to control Denji? Which is a curious thing. A curious question to make. How would Aki control Denji? Well, I would assume because Denji's in a place of power, or Aki's in a place of power, and Denji wants to do whatever Makima says, that he'll go along with Aki no matter what. And it seems like Power's probably in the same situation because Maki somehow has a tight grip on both of them. Like, we know why she has a tight grip on Denji, but Power, it's rather interesting. And also noted how Aki has a sword like the other civilian devil hunters, but he's working for the Public Safety Commission. So I'm guessing maybe Aki was a civilian devil hunter and then was commissioned and hired by Makima after she saved him. Possibly. We'll see. We'll find out, I'm sure. Q talked about how, Q, you made my day, because they were like, did you know that the third ED for Chainsaw Man is done by Maximum the Hormone? And I was like, I knew that sound. And so I'll mention it in a future Death Note reaction, but Maximum the Hormone did the second OP for Death Note, which I freaking love. And so as soon as I heard that ED and then Q said that, I was like, oh my God, yes. It is the same band. It's so bizarre and bonkers, but I love it. I was like, awesome. Good to know. Sam Mala talked about how the shot in ED number 3 of Makima dressed up in the angelic robes and reaching for Denji, it could reference either the creation of Adam painting by Bartolomeo Amarillo in the Sistine Chapel, by Michelangelo in the Sistine Chapel, or it could be the Assumption of Virgin Mary by Bartolomeo Murillo. It could be either one of those paintings that it's referencing, which is fun. Yeah, get that biblical symbolism in, right? Robin Hood Productions talked about how Fujimoto actually said that Makima's name derives from the meanings, one meaning you cut down trees to make a mother. So Makima having mom vibes? I guess maybe she's technically the mother of Denji being in this association. She does kind of have motherly vibes, but it's kind of creepy. So Makima's kind of creepy to me. I don't know. She seems tough, but she just has a vibe. Christopher Peterson brings up a really good point. And I hadn't thought about this, but I was like, yeah, we might as well talk about it. So the idea, the corpse that Power inhabits, because Power is a fiend, so Power has inhabited a corpse. It's a devil that's taken over a corpse's body. Does that make the corpse its own character as Power, or is it a prop being used by the Blood Devil and it's just calling itself Power? That's a really good question, and it brings up some kind of interesting elements to think about. So, are Power's boobs really hers to offer? I mean, basically, Christopher said, did Power just find this body? Did Power murder the body? Should Denji molest a dead girl's corpse? I'm like, why are we asking these questions? Here we are. But yeah, that is a really good question. If the Blood Devil just took over this body, it's really denying, but it's a corpse, so it's not alive. But then here we are asking these questions. So it's very interesting to point out. I hadn't thought of it that way, and I was like, ooh, yeah, this is kind of like Denji would just be grabbing the boobs of a corpse. That is a little bit creepy. And so then Null X talks about how Denji's quest. I really like Null X because Null X's comment too that this is Denji's story. It's a man's love story, a heterosexual man's love story. And I was like, oh, yeah, kind of is, right? And I say that not like it's nothing that's ever been heard of before, but you know, usually when we think of romances, a majority of romances deal with women and women finding love in men, or women finding love in women, or you have like BL, or you have men finding love in men. But there's really, in most shonen, it's not a romance, it's an action series, and they find love along the way. But in this case, yeah, Denji's quest to find love, it is a love story. A love story for the ages. And it's just, it's a different perspective than what I've seen in other shonen, other romance, which Chainsaw Man's not a romance, but the romance element of it is done a little bit differently than what I've seen before. So I liked that. I thought that was a cool little comment to make. Xinhua News, Max Matos, talks about the snail parasite. There's actually a snail, the snail that Makima is feeding Denji in the OP is actually a snail parasite. It takes over the snail and makes them climb to higher places, so it's easier for birds of prey to get them and become their secondary host. So I thought that was really cool to tie into this series, because the idea that Makima is taking Denji from underground and she's raising him up to this higher place. Yeah, she's giving him all the needs that he needs to rise up Maslow's pyramid, but at the same time, him gaining more power, climbing up out into the open into the, the world, he's becoming more noticed. Other devils are going to notice him and are going to attack him. So it's basically painting an even bigger target on Denji. Kind of like the parasitic snail. And it's funny because she's the one feeding him it in the OP. So I thought that was really clever. Thank you for pointing that out. And then finally, non-binary Jut Lung talked about the painting in Makima's office is Alicino attacking Chiampolo by Gustave Dore in Dante's Divine Comedy. And I talked about that in the last episode, but getting some like technical terms with it. So yeah. Those were all really good comments. I was like, man, I'm learning a lot this week. This is great. Old Chainsaw Man gave me a lot to think about. So, but yeah, we're going to dive into this episode 4 and see what all we can see. So I hope y'all are excited, because I am too, but we're not going to waste any more time. We are going to dive into episode 4 of Chainsaw Man, and we're going to do that here in 3, 2, 1, and let's go. Well, that was a fun ED. I really like that ED. It had like this weird creepy sound to it. It fits Power pretty well. I liked that a lot. So, yeah. Is Denji actually going to get to fondle some boobs? We just talked about that, what the ramifications of that, or is he not going to? It almost seems like a fake out, like they're building up for it, and then they're building up for it, and then maybe it's a fake out, maybe he is actually going to fondle him. I don't know. This episode didn't have a name. I wanted to see, like, what is the Chainsaw Man episode name? Okay. For title. What is its title? Does it have one? Did it have an official title? It says it's like, it has a kanji, but I don't know. It's Romanji is Kyushutsu. Okay, what does Kyushutsu mean? Deliverance. Oh, okay. It was called Deliverance. Oh, so the actual name on Crunchyroll doesn't have a title, so I looked up it's cute shitsu, so it means Deliverance. Well, yeah, Denji seems to have been delivered into this situation. So yeah, we're gonna talk about this episode. This is a very interesting transitional episode to transition us to the end of Act 1. I do think, after watching this episode, that this season is going to be in a 3-act structure. I've talked about with other series, like I'm watching Death Note at the same time, and there was a commenter on Death Note that talked about it, which is a 37-episode series, so it's kind of a bigger story, but they talked about how Death Note, for example, without spoiling anything, is in like a 4-act structure, where you have your introduction, then is part 1, part 2 is the development, part 3 is the turn or the twist, and part 4 is the resolution. And so for this season, that would mean that episode 3 would be the end of the intro, which kind of works out, but as much as Fujimoto is a movie person, and as much as Fujimoto seems tied to cinema, I think that it's more of a 3-act structure. 3-act structure is typically what movies are. And so I feel like Fujimoto, being like a big movie buff, would go for the 3-act structure. So ideally, episodes 1 through 4 would be Act 1. And that's kind of what we've done in this season so far. We've had the first 4 episodes at this point have developed Act 1. We've introduced our characters. We've gotten backstory on Denji. We've gotten backstory on Power. Aki, we don't know a whole lot about, but this episode we get a lot more with him. So there's that. We've introduced Makima and the fact that she's a major player in all this. And not only do you introduce characters in Act 1, but you set up a conflict and a goal. And that has been very clearly stated by Denji. Denji's like, I got one goal. I want to fondle some boobs and get with a girl. That's his short-term goals. But the big conflict is we're getting that kind of set up throughout these 4 episodes. It's been subtly hinted at that there are things at play here. Like, for example, that devils are being used by the military, that there's human and devil relations that are very off-kilter, that Makima may have some, like, kind of creepiness to her that we don't have full explanation of. She's definitely using Denji. That Aki is part of this power structure, and even he is wooed by Makima to an extent. So there's that. So we've gotten a little bit of little tiny conflicts, and the conflict ends Act 1 with Power moving in with Aki and Denji and just causing absolute and utter chaos. So that's Act 1. Act 2, if we're following the structure, is going to be episodes 5, 6, 7, and the Great Rule of 8. The episodes 5 to 8 are Act 2. And Act 2, typically in a story, encompasses those conflicts that we've introduced in the first act getting developed. We develop our characters more. There may be some bonding with them. They may develop their character relationships with one another. And usually Act 2 ends, it can end in a number of ways, but a popular way for it to end is that your characters may be at their lowest point by the end of Act 2, and then Act 3 is like where the Rocky theme kicks in and they kind of build themselves up. Or it could possibly be that they're dire straits, they're about to suffer, or that they've maybe hit a wall and decide to have resolve and move forward. The rule of 8, I always maintain that the 8th episode of any 12-episode season is good. Because usually that's about the time Act 2 ends, and you're moving into this 3rd act. If you're going to have a twist or a revelation, you're going to have it down here in Act 2, and it's probably going to be episode 8, right before we move into the conclusion. So I'm real excited for episode 8 when we get to it. But usually that's how Act 2 ends. And Act 3, which in this case would be episodes 9 through 12, are going to be those episodes. And that's where you build to your climax. You have said climax. And you have a resolution or a lead-in for season 2. And that is the structure of 3-act structure. So I was wanting to wait until this episode to see if maybe we were going to follow that. And I think we are. I think that we've done everything we needed to do in Act 1. Put the bow on it. Denji looks like he's going to cop a feel. Now, whether he does or not, we'll find out. But that all seems to make sense. So I do think that Fujimoto's acting in terms of a 3-act structure, right? So that's kind of the thing we do with this episode is we start out talking about, we're talking about some different things. So we have Power. I'm going to put Power here. And just what we know about Power and what we get to her from the episode. And obviously we see her just sitting there just consuming blood. So she's obviously inhabited by the blood devil. So she has to drink a lot. And it doesn't seem like she eats anything but that. It's all blood consumption. That's literally all that she does. She's kind of obsessed with it. And that's all she's about. And then she stumbles upon the cat that doesn't have a lot of blood. I will say this with the show. They do a very tasteful job of making her nudity, like, not stand out. Which is kind of funny because when they have clothes on her, it's like them June is busting out all over. Them boobs are everywhere when she's got clothes on. But when she's shown here naked with the cat, you barely even notice. So I think it would be funny if it was all padding. If it was just all padding from the clothes, and when Denji goes to, like, grab her boob, there's nothing there. That would actually be hilarious in a sense. He'd be like, what? And she's like, well, you didn't ask if they were big or not. And so then we have the cat. Yep. I do love the visual of her face shining in the Bat Devil's eyes. That's really well done. And then her running after the cat. And just running naked in the street. She's like, one life is worth as little as any other. Meaning that in her mind, lives are pretty worthless. Like, that's how she can easily kill because there's no point. But seeing her, like, run naked through the streets, being like, this is only a cat. Why do I run? Why do I search for a human? And then that's when she realizes, is it to save Meowy? And she falls and trips on and just, like, face plants, and then she has the blood and everything on her hand. She's like, such a foolish reason. So that's also tied here where she says that saving Meowy, her goal, it's a foolish reason, but it's worth it. And I think that ties to later on when she gets on to Denji and his goal. She says that it's a foolish reason. But now in hindsight, it's like, well, Denji doesn't understand the context of how Power is saying it. Power is saying, oh, it's a foolish reason. But what she's really saying is, yeah, it's pointless to want to grab a girl's boobs, just like it's pointless to save my cat, but it means something to me, and I'm going to do it because it's worth it for me. So she understands why Denji is doing the things that he's doing. So I kind of like that similar phrasing is used here. And then her and the blood, she says, I love blood. And we see it like make the heart, the taste, the smell, the sense of mortality. And then there's something that I only recently realized. That blood is warm. Yeah, so she realizes that there's that sense of mortality and warmth. Like she wants that cat to be next to her, that blood flowing because it's warm. And she can connect to it, and it feels pleasant. And then I love she has a little tear in her eye seeing the cat. And the cat's like, hey, sup? I'm still in this cage. Oh my gosh. And then, of course, she wakes up to see Denji. Now, granted, Denji, still a gentleman, did not fondle her boobs while she was unconscious. Give our boy that, right? Go put Denji right here. That Denji rescued her. I do love like her waking up and looking up and he's holding her like amidst all of the guts with her and the cat. Like, I love that scene. I want to get a picture of it. Like, that just, the blood and guts, they did a great job cushioning in this episode because Denji, he went through the ringer. He was just slammed about like nobody's business. That's such a beautiful shot and him like cradling her head. And she's like, why did you save me? I attempted to kill you. And I love that he just has to think about it. He's like, yes, you were a bitch, but the chest. He's like, I did it to get out of your chest. And she's just like, really? Such a foolish reason. But she understands it's the same reason she saved Meowy. Like, it doesn't make any sense, but we're still doing it. Here we are, right? Oh my gosh. I love it. And then, yeah, all the birds circling. Like, everybody's left the streets. They were like, peace out. And it's just them on the streets with all the birds circling him. And she's like, forgive my deceit. Since Meowy is safe, you may fondle my chest. And I love that Denji waited for her to give permission. Like, our boy, let it be known. He's not just going to do it. He's not so horny that he just goes for the chest. He waits for her consent. Now, granted, it's a devil's consent over a corpse that she's possessed, but it's a form of consent. And his face where he's just like, it's like he made it to Bowser's castle and made it through, and he's just like, hell yeah. And he's so excited, and then that's when the leech devil blows his arm off. And he's like, oh, and Mappa, oh my god, I love his face where he's like just the expression that they give these characters in this episode are amazing. So yeah, so we have the leech devil. I thought that leech devil was going to kill the cat again. I thought it was going to eat the cat, and I was like, are you freaking serious? Also, let it be known that Denji's not into devil teats. Only the ladies. Man, ugh. But yeah, so basically it eats his arm, and then we are left with Denji facing off against this leech devil. I'm going to cut to. And then he asks if she can move. He asks if Power can move. And Power's like, not even a finger. Power's like, I don't have enough blood. I can't go. Which I wonder if Denji could have gave her his blood. She probably would have hated it. But I wonder if that could have been a thing. Take Meowy and flee, please. Like and her eyes are like shaking. She wants to save Meowy more than anything. So she asks Denji, she asks him to take Meowy and go and leave her. Sacrifice me to save her beloved cat. I'm like, I feel like if you've ever watched The Office, like Power and Angela from The Office would be kind of like the same. Be like, save Bandit. Like, I think that would be the same thing. And let it be known, if Denji does not have enough blood in his system, he cannot become the Chainsaw Man. Like, he just gets a little ploof out. He's like, not enough chainsaw. I've lost too much blood. And Power's like, how does this work? But somehow, I like that he asks, he's like, what's going to happen? And the leech is like, oh, I like you. You seem like my type. I'm like, he's nothing like the Bat Devil, so whatevs. But he asks what's going to happen to Meowy and Power. And she says they die. And he's like, well, that's not going to work. Not going to have that. And then the animation for this scene, like this scene, the animation between them, it's amazing. It's just Mappa, what are we doing? I like that the Leech Devil says, we shared a dream, Batty and I, killing and eating all of humanity. I mean, that is a dream. That's a dream there. All right. And I love that she says, it was a pipe dream, but a noble one, a romantic one. Like we were just going to kill all of humanity. Isn't that romantic? It's like, it's kind of hilarious. And now this yipping little dog has ruined it. I like that Denji is constantly referred to as a dog. But you need to die even though you're cute enough. And I love that he just like takes his stub and he's like, no, I'm not dying before I cop a feel. Like, oh my God. And the worm calls him out saying it's ridiculous to think he was killed by someone with such a trashy dream. And Denji's like, excuse me, Leech. And then he thinks back. Now, Denji does not realize what Power is saying by the foolish reason. He thinks that she's making fun of him, but she's really, in all reality, actually understanding him. So he thinks that, and he thinks even harder. And Aki's like, everyone's serious about this except you. Which Denji said he is serious. So he's thinking, nope, that's not it at all. And then he thinks even further and decides, no, not going to have this. I love this part right here. Like, not only did Mappa go absolutely insane with everything about it, but the chainsaw, everything. I love it. And then just using the guts as cushions. And I like the leech, like, plugged up the wound with its arm. Interesting. And he says, everybody wants to trash talk my plans. It's revenge this, protect my family that. He's like, and save a cat too. I like that Denji's like, look, I don't have a family to protect. I'm not out for revenge. I don't like cats. Y'all keep your trashy dreams. Let me have mine. Let me mind your business. He says, blah, blah, blah. I guess your fancy dreams make you guys hot shit, huh? How about we have us a dream battle then? How about that? If I murderize you, that means your dreams are weaker than fondling a tit. Oh my God. That line, he's like, let's have a dream battle. Oh my God. At this point, oh my God, the dream battle. He's like, if I kill you, that means that your dreams were weaker than me fondling a tit. Oh my God. And some of the animation on Denji's face in this scene is just, it's just manic. It's like a wild dog. And she says, even your howls are cute. They say, yep, that I'll go. She says, yep, I'll gobble you up. And it's these two devils. See if you can beat me in a dream battle. And the animation just goes wild, right? It just goes wild. And they're just, it's like Mappa's just showing off at this point, but I could not take my eyes off of it. It was beautiful. And he uses the guts to try to knock her down. I love it. I love that even in this state, Denji's thinking of a strategy to like knock her down and get her into a state where he can attack her with the chainsaws. And he's just on pure adrenaline at this point. On just like getting knocked aside by her. And like his eye was about to fall out of his head. Like his eye was about to fall out of his socket. Like it's about to pop out. It's really gross. And she says, demoniacal. Demoniacal. So Power says that there's a state where it's demoniacal. I'm guessing that's the state where they just kind of go berserk and it's like they're in a state of bloodlust and they're just high on adrenaline and so they're just acting like demons and there's just nothing stopping them. Because yeah, Denji at this point, he's just like running on pure adrenaline. Like the thing where he has the eye about to pop out and he looks like a damn dog. And he's just twisted, yeah. And the leech is just like spinning around. Yep. It's pretty crazy. So yeah, and in all this, the leech still manages to attack him, like manages to pierce him and impale him. It's, And at this point I was like, well, how's it? I kept waiting thinking at some point somebody was going to come out and save him. And at this point when he gets impaled, what I thought would happen is that he stuck his head in the leech. And I was like, okay, he's going to drink the leech's blood and regenerate himself, get more blood, and become Chainsaw Man again. That's not what happens. He goes to do like the dive and to hit her, and she impales him with her tongue. Ugh. Which is absolutely gross. And yeah, she just impales him with her tongue and is about to eat him. And Power's like, well, this is something. Okay. And at that point, I love that this all makes sense from the OP now. This makes sense. It's Cone. The demon. I love that. And he says Cone. I love it. See, I saw the trailer for Chainsaw Man, and in the trailer, we see Cone pop out, the fox demon, right? The fox devil. We see that pop out. I thought it was just a monster I thought it was one of the devils, like, fighting in the battle. I didn't know it was attached to Aki. So now, Aki's got a devil attached to him. He's made a contract with it. Oh my god, and the fox devil, like with the big eyes, the third eyes, and the crazy things. It kind of like has a Naruto look to it. And the leech is like, wait, what? It looks like she's a leech devil. May I swallow? And he's like, do it. And then he disappears. Okay. Interesting. So, and then we get this billowing smoke. All right. And so now we have Aki's other team. Okay. So let's put Aki up here. Aki's grabbing his arm. Like the arm that he's made the contract with. He grabbed the arm. But Aki, he does not show pain. Aki is very calm, collected, and in control. Like he did the deal with the devil, gave him a piece of his flesh to have him come in and rescue them, and didn't act like it bothered him at all. No. So he's made a pact with the fox devil, and we'll come back to that. It makes sense. Oh my god! Denji and Aki are the fox and the hound. They're the fox and the hound. Oh my god. That's actually, I need it photoshopped. I need Aki and Denji as the Fox and the Hound parody. I absolutely need it. Oh my god, yep, the Fox and the Hound. That's what they are. Two unlikely friends dealing up, right? Oh my god. So there's a squad at Division 4. Alright, Division 4, we have Aki, we have Himeno, and then we have this little girl and guy I love the girl with the hair clip. She's like, oh my god, are you okay? And the guy's like, this is some shit. What is this? And Aki's just like, just another day in the neighborhood. Don't mind us. I also love like the suits, the Men in Black look that they kind of have. It's actually amazing. Picture them. But yeah, so Aki, him saying the leech devil's extermination is confirmed. I want the rookies handling search and rescue and assisting with the evac. Yeah, this one guy that's the rookie, he looks petrified, and she's just like, what are we doing? What do we do? It's kind of great. And they're like, okay, Himeno, you've got seniority, so keep watch for more devils. She like looks similar to him. She has like the blue eyes and everything, and her hair down. She has an eye patch. Himeno. So when he says seniority, I'm assuming she means over all of them or over him as well. Oh no. She's like on it. She seems pretty eager to please. And then Denji, dream battle. Gonna my dream battle. And Aki's like, you and the blood fiend need to be debriefed. And she's like, what about Meowy? I love that side eye he gives her. He turns back to her and looks, and she's like, what about Meowy? And the look he gives her is almost a look that says, I know you are responsible for all of this because Denji is not smart enough to get in this situation. So he's like, I know you're responsible, and you're asking me, after everything that's happened here, to watch after your cat? Okay. Fine. And then the cat's just, I think the only reason he decides to go with it is because the cat seems like it's not in pain. And he's like, whatever, send it to the vet to get checked up. Let's do this. I'm gonna say, without spoiling anything, with Denji waking up, looking up at the hospital ceiling, it wasn't looking directly at a light. I think that's the only reason it doesn't immediately connect to Neon Genesis Evangelion. But it's a very Neon Genesis moment. And so then we have Aki sitting next to him and he's carving up the apples to be little bunny rabbits, which I love the whole time. The whole time Aki is giving the conversation with him and trying to like debrief with him. I love the whole time that Denji's like slowly grabbing for the bunny rabbits, like, please let me have them. Also, he's wearing these sweet Converse in this scene, Aki is, with his suit on. I like it. But Denji, he's like, I found your arm and it only took a blood infusion was all it needed to reattach. You really are like a devil. So I want to make note with Aki that he did find Denji's arm. Now, did he have to do that? No, but he did it. Aki has a kinder heart than he'd like to let on, right? He seems serious, but he's actually kinder. And I like that Denji's like, well, you seem pretty friendly with that devil back there. Denji's being like, now wait a minute. You, a few episodes ago, were telling me how devils and humans can't be friends. So what are you getting up with that devil there for? He's like, I saw it. And I love that Aki, everything's visual with him. Like his eyes and everything. You just physically see him go, like he's just like, I gotta explain this to a kid. He says, you really don't know a thing, huh? And he just gets like really handsy with the apple there. Devil hunters form contracts with devils in order to fight against them. So he's like, we kind of use devils to fight devils, is what he's saying. He's like, in order to fight, we use devils to fight devils. It's kind of like we use monsters to fight monsters, basically. And so he says, he says, I've got a contract with the Fox Devil. In exchange for power, I offer up a bit of my body as food. It was some skin this time. And Denji's not paying attention, but I think that's good to know that he offers part of his body for power. I don't like what that's setting up. Nope, I don't like what that's saying up at all. Denji's casually ignoring it, but we, the audience, are like, now wait a minute, it was some flesh this time, but if he keeps using Cone, is Cone going to keep taking more and more parts of him? What's he going to take next, right? That one girl, Himeno, was missing an eye, so did she make a contract with the devil and it took her eye? That seems oddly kind of like the situation that Denji was in when he was exchanging body parts for more money, which would in turn give him more power over a situation, right? It's a curious contrast and similarity there. He's like, it sounds painful. He's like, devils yearn for the death of humans. The same goes for fiends. And I like that Denji, like, he looks at him like, what are you getting at? And what Aki is trying to say, being like, he makes the point of saying that devils and fiends are not friends. They want to kill humans. And Denji goes, Power seems cool though. He's like, she seems pretty cool. And then that face that Aki makes to him, it is terrifying. The way that it's lit and everything, the face he makes. There's like no expression. He says the surveillance cameras caught you two headed to your patrol area. And the house that we believe was housing the Bat Devil had a lot of your blood spilt. And so he's like, the Blood Fiend tried to kill you, didn't she? I don't know why, but you're trying to protect a devil again. Oof. And Denji's like, it's one of those things, it's weird. Aki is trying to understand why. Why is Denji trying to protect this devil? What's the point? Why are you doing this? He's like, I don't understand. Like, what is the deal? This devil tried to kill you. Why are you trying to protect her and be friends with her? And Denji's like, well, I don't know. Is that how it happened? Because Denji recognizes that Aki doesn't know the full story. See, and the thing about that's kind of cool about Denji is that he does not tell Power's story on her behalf. He just tells Aki, he's like, yeah, that may seem like what was happening, but he's like, you don't know. He's like, you don't know the full story. You don't know Power's backstory. He's like, what are you doing? Which is kind of hilarious. And Aki's like, well, and he looks at the plate and says, and he thinks back to the people in the scene who were asking to see Denji, being like the one little girl wanting to thank the Chainsaw Man. And the one woman talking about how the one guy saved him, right? And she wanted to save him. And the one guy's like, don't give a shit about saving some dude, he says. And then the devil throws my car into its head. And Aki's just like, He's like, this is very complicated. Aki's like, Denji is more complicated than maybe it seems. And I don't want to have this conversation. He's just like, if I dig deeper into this and report it to the higher ups, then the Blood Fiend gets disposed of along with you since you covered for her. And again, Denji's not listening. He's like, I just want the apple. I just want it. Aki's like, but there were no fatalities. So if you can accept one condition, I'll let what happened slide. And he gives him the apple. So Aki's like, I'll compromise. Aki is saying that since there were no deaths, if you do as I say, then you're good. He's like, if I report you, you're going to die, you and Power. But since there was no one killed in this incident, I'll cut you a break. You just have to listen to what I say. You just need to do what I tell you to. You're a dumbass brat with no clue about right and wrong. I've been doing this longer, so I'm sure I have a grasp of social ethics. All you need to do is to protect this lifestyle is to listen to me. Because yeah, Aki's like, I've been around the block longer than you. I know how this works. You don't seem to understand social cues, and you don't know the difference between right and wrong. So just listen to what I say, and you'll be fine. Just roll with it. How about it? If you follow, I want an answer. I love that Denji and Aki's relationship is so much fun because they are the perfect, they're the perfect antagonistic buddy duo. Like, they don't want to admit they like each other. They don't want to admit they're best buddies. They're just, butting heads all the time. And Denji's like, I don't want to admit that, you're maybe right, so whatever. He just sniffs the apple. He's like, sure, I'll keep it in mind. And Aki's like, progress. He's like, you can relax. I might not be after some big deal goal like you guys, and I might dream small, but I'm just as serious about this as you are. You can count on me. And I love that he gives he's like, you can count on me. And Aki's like, and I'm out. Oh my gosh, it's great. Aki's like, sure thing. And so then he's like, try to learn some manners in the meantime. He's like, yeah, I'll think about it. Oh my God. Denji's such a bro. Such a bro. So then Aki goes down and sees Himeno with Power, asking if this is a good idea. She's like, now will you kindly take these off? And Himeno's like, are we sure that we should let her out? When this cutie fiend kills somebody, it's going to be your responsibility for letting her live. And Aki says, we're devil hunters. Whether they're devils or fiends, if they're handy, we should put them to work. So he shares Makima's goal or philosophy. Because Makima seems all about training hunting dogs. And Aki kind of shares that philosophy, being like, well, whether they're demons or fiends or humans, if they're of use, put them to work. And Power's just, she's no exception. And then he's like, but they're still the enemy. We're just making use of them. And I like that Himeno kind of gives him a look. Himeno's like, sure they are. Sure they're the enemy. Sure we're making use of them. Sure you're not catching feelings. You know, she just seems like she's a little bit skeptical. And Aki being taller and Power's been like just, we're not making friends. Aki's like, I didn't come here to make friends. As he slowly makes friends. And then we cut back to the building, right? Interestingly enough, Makima's office is on the 6th floor. It's not the 7th floor. So she's not, I like that that's kind of a visual representation, that she's not at the top. She's just kind of right below it, right? Which is interesting. So this scene where he goes to give her the debriefing, right? I wanted to rewatch this scene again because he makes a knock at the door like he's going to knock on it. And then he waits. And he stops and straightens his tie and makes sure he looks good. And then he knocks. So Aki, he wants to impress Makima. He is like, notice me, senpai. You saved me, now notice me. Tell me I'm doing a good job. And she is quite interesting. Makima is fascinating because there's an air about her that seems something's like not right, but you can't put your finger on it and you're like, something's amiss with her, but I can't tell what it is. It's just, she gives off a vibe, a creepy vibe. And of course he debriefs. Now, the way that Aki debriefs, he says he claims they were outside the patrol zone before they knew it. I'm like, did Denji actually say that, or did Aki cover for him? Did Aki make that up and make it sound like something Denji would say? He's like, looked like a super nasty devil in it. And they encountered the bat devil. He uses chainsaws to exterminate the bat devil, and then came under attack by the leech devil, which we exterminated. He's like, there were no traces of gun flesh in either the bat or leech devil's heads. So that's interesting. There was no traces of gun flesh. Gun flesh in either heads. Okay. That phrase there is weird. Gun flesh. No traces. I feel like that's something that we're going to maybe come back to at some point. I don't know. That concludes my report. And she very much has the Gendo pose. She has the Gendo pose, right? She's sitting there with it. Oh, Makima in the Gendo pose. Well done. But they managed to get awfully far without anyone noticing, didn't they? Like, she's like, somebody should have been watching them. And he's like, oh, well, I chalk that up to them being unbelievably stupid, which is a fair assumption, but she's like, we should not leave them in an unapproved area. It's against regulations. And he says, and that's when he goes, considering there were no fatalities and that we were able to get rid of 2 devils, I think it's worth overlooking. And she just stares at him like you're really getting attached to these 2. And so she just kind of like closed her eyes slowly and she's like, that's fine. Understood. And he says, if you'll excuse me, ma'am. And he's like, you seem a little bit more flexible now. I wonder if it's Denji's influence. And he just kind of has this dead-eyed look, right? And he's like, I doubt it. I haven't changed at all. And she looks so grisly there, like so creepy, where she's just looking at him like, you've not changed at all, huh? Okay, sure. Sure, Jan. That's a very sure Jan look. Makima is fascinating because she's very creepy and just so quiet and ominous. And she seems like she has a good read on people. That's the scary thing. She seems like she has a good read on people. And it's like, ugh, what do we do with that? So yeah, so then we have him looking up at the apartment complex that I'm assuming is right by headquarters. Right? And so then we cut to his house. His beautiful, pristine apartment. At first, I was wondering why we were spending so much time focusing on the pristine apartment. I was like, oh, this is nice. This little quiet moment between Denji and Aki. And we'll talk about it here in a second. But I was like, well, that's kind of cool. But it seems kind of weird that we're focusing all this time on it. No, it makes sense now because once Power shows up, it's chaos. And that beautiful, pristine, quiet moment between Denji and Aki is gone. She's like wrecked the whole thing. So it's this big contrast, right? Because yeah, you have this table with the two pillows that they're sitting on. The press, 7 a.m., Aki gets up in his sweatpants and sweatpant combo, has his hair beautifully out, and he has his morning ritual, right? He opens up the door to go outside on the balcony, and his morning, he lets the wind blow through his hair. He makes the coffee. He like brings the water up to his face and like the perfect heart, brushes his teeth, looks amazingly handsome. And then he makes his coffee and then goes outside to read his newspaper. Has his cigarettes. Aki's like, this is just my normal day. And I love this moment because it's so serene. The animation's gorgeous and it's just this perfect little character capturing moment, right? It's this perfect moment. And I almost want to get like a picture of him looking absolutely amazing. Like right as the hair goes through blushing, going through his, it's just hair down. Aki is absolutely gorgeous. The best. So yeah. And then Denji waking up. Denji's just like, has his sweatpants, he's just scratching himself and everything as Aki lights the cigarette. Mappa decided, they said, you know what we're going to do? We're going to make Aki the sexiest thing in this series. They just did. He's like, wow, was he up so early? I love it. And then I love that he has this beautiful long flowing hair, but then it's short enough. That's the problem. It's short. Like if I pull my hair up, it's not long enough to do much with. So it would do the exact same thing. It would just make a little sprig. And that's how his hair is. And it's like, oh, Aki, I feel you, man. I feel you. And he's like looking at it like, I wish I could do something else with it. But yeah, he's doing the laundry. I like that he like gets like the measurement for the detergent. Everything. It's this simple, quiet little life. And even Denji's respectful enough that he's still got all the jams, all the honeys, everything. But he's doing it now to where it's not making like such a mess. It's like, oh, that's cute, Denji. And he's like vacuuming and everything. It's really cute. He's got a super toast. He's making curry, like everything. It's like Aki and Denji, despite being two characters that have so much difference in personality, they are able to cohabitate together in this nice, quiet, and it's that nice silence, right? It's the nice silence. Like if you've ever been roommates with somebody and you guys get into a point where you can just walk around the house and you don't have to say a word. You can just kind of like cohabitate the same space and it's just comfortable, right? That's kind of where Aki and Denji are. And it's cool. He's like, what's for lunch? He's like, oh, curry. And then Denji's like, sweet. He's so excited. And then the door knocks. And I like that Denji looks like a damn dog. He just looks like Aki's dog there, right? And at this point, yeah, Power just completely breaks the door. And they're like ready to fight. And then she shows up and she's like, what a pitiful home this is. Oh my God. It's amazing. And the cat on her shoulder like meowing like a roar. Oh my God. She's that person. I don't know what the 76.1 is a reference to, but I love her style of like the sweater and then like the high-waisted shorts that are cut off with the cat. And they're both like, are you serious? And then we cut to Makima being like, well, I want you to put power up in one of your rooms, Hayakawa. And he's like, no. He's like, no. And she's like, you'll do that, right? I think you'll make a good leash for the two of them. I want to make note, Makima's office is very, very sparse. There's the painting from Dante's comedy, Divine Comedy, and then there's like a bookshelf, and there's like a photograph on top of the little bookshelf. We don't really know what it is, though. But yeah, Makima wants him to be a leash. A leash for Power and Denji. And Aki's like, look, I signed up for one dog, but I can't have a household full of two. She's tearing everything up. I love it. I love that it cuts to, like, I love it cuts to Aki and it's just chaos, right? I want to see what this is. Like, what is happening in this? Because it's so quiet in her office. And then we cut back and we see the cat and we see him running. She's like, stop right there, Meowy. He's like, there's some reason why you're sending me all these psychos, ma'am. I love he still calls her ma'am. He's like, really? Oh my God. And she's like, and it seems, you can hear in the background, it seems like you've got quite a feast. And she says, it's because I trust you more than anyone else. And it's like, David, who said you could come in? She's like, 'tis mine now. Give me back my super toast. I love that Denji and her just fighting the background over the toast. And it cuts to Aki. And he is so blushing. Now, it shows his hand. But his hand, it shows on the hand, he has stuff off on the other hand. So he has a sacrificed multiple times because it was off this one the first time, right? And now it's on this one. Has Aki, we don't know how much has he given up to the Fox Devil? We don't know that. But I love that she trusts Aki the most. So she says. She has Aki on a leash just like she does the other two. Right? Because Aki blushing like she has him under her thumb. And Aki's just like, oh, okay. Uh-huh. And she's like, it'd be a little odd to have her staying at the office indefinitely. She's like, she'd wreck stuff here. We can't have that. It's not conducive to a good work environment. She's like, he's like, okay. And then she just giggles. She's like, oh, you don't have to worry. Power said she'd behave. I'm like, oh my God. And she's like, it'll be fine. And I love that she's like, what is this? Vegetables? This isn't blood. And like just screams around. Vegetables are revolting. And Denji, who is like the carrot, and Aki's like, quit flinging the vegetables I cooked. And Denji's like, show some respect to the farmers who grew the veggies, devil. Like Denji knows how much trouble it was to get food like that when he was like starving. So he's like, hey, we're lucky to have this curry. You be thankful, you wench, you heartless wench. And she's like, no. And then the toilet paper, she's like, the toilet? I prefer to only occasionally flush my feces. And I love Aki's like, what are you doing? Flush it. He's like, it stinks. She's like, I only occasionally bathe. And he's like, get in there. You reek. You two are absurd. How delicate these humans be. I love, she's like, you two are absurd. How delicate and frail you all are. Aren't they, Meowy? And Aki looks like he is about to have a high-speed come apart. And Denji looks so angry, like, what is this business? Oh my God, it's so good. And meanwhile, so Aki's outside doing the laundry with her. And then Denji's like, I can't believe she just shows up raising hell. Do devils not flush the toilet? Didn't eat her veggies either! I love that those are the two things that got Denji the most. She didn't flush the toilet, and she didn't eat her veggies. Like, it's the bottom of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Like, she can't do the basic stuff, right? And I love it's like, hey, shit, devil, your turds are stuck to the toilet and won't come off. Oh my God. And so she's like, is this not what you came for? Are we going to do this or not? And he's like, what? She's like, we had a deal, did we not? You can cop a feel if you want. And Denji's just like, excuse me? And then Aki's outside doing all this, and she just like leaves him in the bathroom. And just leaves him there. And Denji's like, what, well? And she's like, aren't you pleased? Mm-hmm. And Denji's like, oh my God. And of course, he's like a damn dog. He just like collapses, and she says there are 3 stipulations. You only get 3 squeezes. You save Meowy, you killed the Bat Devil, and you save me from Top Knot. That's all you get. So that leads me to believe that if he does get to cop a feel, then she's like, okay, well, anytime you do stuff for me, I'll let you do that if you want. So, interestingly enough, I don't know if he actually will or not. I don't know. She said, squeeze them gratefully. And then we see her just like, but here's the thing. It's a power play, right? She's very much doing a power play just like Makima is. She is using her body as a power move. She's like, that's all this kid wants, so I'm gonna manipulate him. And because when he looks up, she has that domineering stance over him, right? And she does have some like blush on her face, and she's just like, gonna do this. And he says she's an angel. Of course, we follow the she's an angel with the blah from the ED. Oh my God. Absolutely hilarious. So that does leave some questions, right? That does leave some questions. I think it is worth making note that both Makima and Power are not afraid to use sexuality as, and who they are, as a means of controlling the 2 men that they are near. Like Makima is using Denji with herself. She's using Aki by being like, oh, I trust you more than anyone, Aki. And he's like, oh, okay. Like, Makima is very much toying with both of them, right? Power, not so much with Aki. Power, definitely with Denji. Power is like, I know how to get this kid under my thumb. He's pretty simple. And the question is Denji going to cop a feel or not? I feel like it could go either one or 2 ways. Either he will, and it becomes a thing where she lets him, like, grab her chest if he, like, solves the mission, right? Or Denji resists and says, no, Makima's the one that I want, not you. Maybe he does that. Or option 3 is that Aki walks in right as it's about to happen, and he's like, what are you all doing? I'm out here doing laundry, keeping the house clean. What is this business? I don't know. I don't know what direction it's going to go, but it could go a lot of different directions, right? The ED is really good. I like the ED sound. It's very much fits. It fits old Power very well. It's very cute. I feel like the dance that she does is one that has been done before for like a meme. And I love the graduation cap has her horns coming out of it. That's really cute. But yeah, Deliverance, huh? So interesting. Power play dynamics with Power and Denji, with Aki and Denji, and with Makima and Denji. So yeah, we end up getting this kind of cycle where we have Makima. We have Makima kind of in the center of it all, right? And Makima has power over Denji. Actually, let me write it out this way. We'll do it this way. Makima is at the height of the pyramid. Makima is at the top of the pyramid. She is on top of the ladder, right? Makima's up here. She has power over Denji, right? She also has power over Power, who believes that now she has power over Denji. So we'll put him down a little bit lower. She has power over Power, who has in turn power over Denji, who has power over Aki, who has power from Makima. So it's kind of like Makima's at the top, and then Makima has power over Power, Aki, and Denji, but Denji is being controlled by both Power and Aki as well. So Denji's at the bottom of the ladder, surprising no one. I do think maybe Aki is a little bit higher up than Power, because Aki does have, if we were going by the ladder here, it would probably go Makima, Aki, Power, and then Denji, were I to guess. So it's the end of Act 1. Will our hero get to fondle him some boobs, or is his quest going to be interrupted? I guess we'll find out. But I'm really excited to see how it goes down. I hope you all are too. But yeah. So this was a really good episode, a really funny episode, a very introspective, quiet episode. I love the quiet scenes between Aki and Denji and them just being comfortable in each other's spaces. But yeah, now I have no clue where it's going to go, because at least at the last episode when it ended, I was like, okay, we still got to defeat the Bat Devil, have the aftermath of that. Now it's like, what do we do? So there's that. But I hope you all have a wonderful week. Please stay safe, take care, and yeah, I will be back very soon with more Chainsaw Man. Bye.